Carlos Alcaraz also denounces threats received on social media. Some messages are even scary. It's a real scourge for all tennis players, threatening messages on social media, a problem largely stemming from the betting market, which Carlos Alcaraz also spoke out about this Tuesday. The Spaniard, who defeated Adam Walton on Tuesday in his Queen's debut, spoke about social media and said he has sometimes received very brutal comments that are even scary. After his victory over Walton, Alcaraz discussed the current state of social media after the WTA and ITF published a report stating that female players received around 8,000 threats via social media in 2024. You receive a lot of them, and it's a shame to get these messages. Nowadays, social media is a very important tool, very important for work and many other things, but it's also a double-edged sword because many people can reach you. When things don't go well, when you lose early, when you lose matches you shouldn't lose, that's when people leave their comments, Alcaraz said. Some are positive, some encourage you, and others are very brutal. I'm not going to say here exactly what messages I've received, but some of them are very heavy and even scary, and they make you question many things. That's a shame, he added. Alcaraz will return to the court this Thursday against Jaam Munar, whom he has faced 3 times on tour, with 2 wins and 1 loss. Jaam is a great competitor. Some might think his style is more suited to clay, that he feels more comfortable there, but his inner competitiveness is incredible. That's what allows him to compete well on all surfaces. We've played and trained together, and we'll try to improve the things we did wrong today, get more comfortable on grass, and we'll see how it goes, he noted. Drastic change for Carlos Alcaraz hours before his debut. Alcaraz debuts with a convincing win. The star from Murcia opened the grass season with a victory over Australian Adam Walton by 6-4 and 7-6. Any doubts about Carlos Alcaraz's condition following his stunning Roland Garros victory and celebrations in Ibiza were put to rest with a convincing win in his Queen's opener against Adam Walton, 6-4 and 7-6, 4. It was an unusual match, as Alcaraz found out just 4 hours beforehand that he wouldn't be facing fellow Spaniard Alejandro Davidovich, who withdrew due to illness, but would instead play the Australian, who entered the draw as a lucky loser. Nevertheless, Alcaraz didn't allow for any surprises and showed he's in great form, took care of himself during the break, and is adapting well to the grass court swing. Hug with Hewitt. Despite having played only 5 matches on grass in his career, Walton is a player well acquainted with the surface, given that Australia has more grass courts than almost anywhere else in the world. Due to the unknowns around this player, Alcaraz asked his compatriot Jordan Thompson for advice during a warm-up session earlier that day on one of Queen's outside courts. Had he known about the matchup earlier, he might have also consulted Lleyton Hewitt, Wimbledon champion and former world number 1, whom he hugged earlier that morning at Queen's. The Australian, now working with his country's tennis federation, congratulated Alcaraz on his victory in Paris a week ago. Solid serving. The advice from Thompson paid off. Alcaraz played an immaculate first set, especially on serve, losing only 4 points. On return, he gradually found his rhythm. It took him 7 games and 3 break points to finally break the Australian, who, in the biggest opportunity of his life, was playing aggressively from the baseline. When Alcaraz dominated, there was no contest. But when Walton could strike cleanly, he found winners with ease. That's what this surface allows. 1 or 2 shots can be enough to win a point, and a single error can cost you your serve in the set. 2 break points saved. Alcaraz came very close to dropping a set. He faced 2 set points at 4-5 in the second, which he saved with 2 great serves. He could have lost a set due to Walton's solid level, which is why adapting, using every minute at Queen's, and getting in as much match play as possible is vital. The win, secured in the tiebreak, allows him to continue, gain rhythm, and sharpen his game on a surface that only appears for about 5 weeks each year. Walton, who fell after 1 hour and 43 minutes, was the first hurdle in a Queen's tournament where Alcaraz, as always, aims to win. But more importantly, it's about gaining experience. His winning streak now stands at 14, spanning Rome, Roland Garros, and this Queen's debut, and his grass court record is impressive, 25 wins and only 3 losses. Carlos Alcaraz jokes about his recent Ibiza party, "My body can't handle it anymore." 1 week has passed since Carlos Alcaraz lifted the Roland Garros trophy after an epic final against Italy's Yannick Sinner. The Mercian celebrated in style and, as he often enjoys, went to Ibiza to relax and party for a few days. The Spanish tennis player had a great time but confirmed, jokingly, that he only went out for 1 night. In an interview with AFE, he talked about his Ibiza holiday after winning Roland Garros a week earlier. "It was fun, but this year was quieter than last year. Last year was more intense. I went out the first night, but the other 2 nights I didn't. I was in bed by midnight on Tuesday and Wednesday, although I did go out in the afternoon. I'm getting older, and my body just can't take it anymore, Alcaraz said, laughing. A tradition for Carlos Alcaraz. The Ibiza trip has become a tradition for the Spaniard, though he received criticism last year for it, as it affected his preparation for Queens. Nevertheless, he went on to win Wimbledon weeks later, and this year he repeated the trip with encouragement from fans who, after celebrating his incredible win over Sinner, urged him to go wherever he wanted. There are times when people may not agree with you, even if you think what you're doing is right. But in life, I want to make my own mistakes. I'm happy that this year people told me to go wherever I wanted and disconnect. That support helps me in certain situations. We learn each year, and maybe in a few years I won't be able to do it, but right now, these moments of disconnection are very helpful, Alcaraz said. Decisive change at Wimbledon closely watched by Alcaraz, Sinner, and Djokovic. Wimbledon has announced a prize of £3 million, €3.5 million, for the individual champions of the 2025 edition, which will be held from June 30th to July 13th at the All England Club in London. The Grass Court Grand Slam also confirmed 2 major changes. In line with the General Tour rule, except for Roland Garros, which still resists, it will now use electronic line calling. But the other change has drawn more attention from title contenders, including 2023 and 2024 champion Carlos Alcaraz, his dethroned rival in both finals, Novak Djokovic, and world number 1 Jannik Sinner. All 3 aim to reach Sunday, July 13th, but they'll need to change their routines if they do. The schedule for the singles finals has been delayed by 2 hours. Previously set for 2 p.m. local time on Saturday and Sunday, they will now start at 4 p.m. London time, 5 p.m. in Spain. In case of a long match, the roof might need to be closed and artificial lighting used, which would drastically change the playing conditions. The men's doubles final will start at 1 p.m. local time on Saturday, 2 p.m. in Spain, and the women's doubles final at the same time on Sunday. The goal is to improve the experience for everyone involved. Doubles players will have a more precise schedule, and fans can enjoy the day at Wimbledon before the matches begin. Plus, champions will be crowned in front of the largest possible audience, said Sally Bolton, CEO of the All England Club, in comments picked up by Agencia EFE. Bolton also stated that Wimbledon does not plan to add a 15th day to its schedule, unlike Roland Garros, which now starts on a Sunday. Wimbledon increases prize money. Carlos Alcaraz could earn €1 million more than at Roland Garros. The 2025 edition of Wimbledon begins on June 30th, and the champions will receive a record prize exceeding that of last season, when Carlos Alcaraz beat Novak Djokovic and took home about €3.2 million. This Thursday, the tournament announced an increase in total prize money to €62.8 million, 7% more than last year and double the amount distributed in 2015. All England Club President Deborah Jevons shared the details at a press conference, highlighting the steady rise in prize money. Wimbledon champions will receive €3.5 million, 11% more than last year's earnings for Alcaraz and Barbora Krejcikova. This is €1 million more than what Alcaraz and Coco Gauff earned for winning Roland Garros just days ago. Players who lose in the first round will earn £66,000, €77,500, a 10% increase from last year. The challenge in tennis is that players have no rest, as they would like, and injuries are increasingly frequent, something they often mention. We've always said that as Wimbledon, we're open to collaborating and talking with the tours to find solutions, and that door remains open, Jevons added. The finals for both men's and women's singles will now be played at 4 p.m. local time on the final weekend instead of 2 p.m., and line judges will be permanently replaced by live electronic officiating, a change that Roland Garros resisted last month. Meanwhile, Wimbledon's biggest ongoing project is the planned expansion into neighboring Wimbledon Park, which would add 39 more grass courts. However, the plan is currently tied up in litigation. Though construction permission has been granted, a local protest group has filed for judicial review, which will be heard during the second week of the tournament. Nadal responds to Alcaraz for drawing inspiration from him to come back, if he's already able to think of me. Rafa Nadal spoke about the recent Roland Garros final where Carlos Alcaraz came back from 2 sets down against Jannik Sinner, during the charity golf event the Battle of the Stars in support of ALS patients. For the 14-time champion, it was a match for the ages, and he felt honored that the Mercian thought of him, if he's already able to think of me. The Roland Garros edition that served as a tribute to Rafa Nadal, retired since late last year, couldn't have ended better for Spanish tennis, with Carlos Alcaraz winning the title again after an epic comeback against Jannik Sinner. A special tribute to the man who won the Musketeers Cup 14 times, Nadal spoke about that final at a charity golf event in Mallorca, where he was playing alongside his uncle Tony, among others. Nadal had nothing but praise for the match between Alcaraz and Sinner. It really was a spectacular final, very emotional. In the end, to see him lift the trophy after coming so close to losing it to Jannik, I'm really happy for him, the Balearic ex-player said. He also appreciated Alcaraz's words about being inspired by him to turn the match around. I haven't seen it, but if he was already able to think of me in that moment, I'm very happy for him. The players who consistently perform above the rest, who are showing that they are great champions, will carve their own path. That's the reality. I think tennis is in good hands with this new generation led by Alcaraz and Sinner, the two most dominant players currently on the ATP Tour. The 22-time Grand Slam champion experienced his first edition of Roland Garros as just another spectator since his debut in 2005. For Rafa, it's exciting to see a place that's been so important in my sporting life and to enjoy tennis just like that. This is my reality, my new reality, without thinking beyond all that, he said, showing no regrets about not playing in the tournament where he made his name.